Greetings, I'm Professor Hansen, and this is my debut video on YouTube. It's not my introductory video. I will have a comprehensive introductory video in a week or so, but it's taken a little bit longer than I thought it would, and since Professor Anton asked me to comment on Paradox, which he mentioned in one of his videos last week, I thought I'd chime in, particularly since Paradox has been one of my favorite ideas for quite some time. In fact, one idea I have been nursing, it says that, in a sense, just as we can see the devil hiding in the details, we can see God lurking in the paradoxes. What I mean by this is the fact that God, or the creative resource, as I prefer, provides the logical structure of the physical universe. In logic, we make an attempt to understand that logical structure so that we can, in a sense, see what it means for how we understand and also allow us to, in a sense, manipulate the world. In the 20th century, we developed some fairly nice axiomatic systems in deductive logic that allowed us to investigate many of the important notions. In particular, for instance, in deductive logic in particular, we do not allow contradictions. A contradiction, for instance, is when you say that something is true and false at the same time. And that's exactly a good example because, for instance, if I allow for contradictions, then what I'm saying right now could be true and false at the same time, and therefore I might as well just shut up. I don't want to shut up. I like to talk. I like to study logic, and therefore I do appreciate the notion of avoiding contradictions in logic. However, what we have found is, although we can fairly well avoid contradictions, there is a related notion that seems to crop up all the time, and that's the notion of paradox. As I said, a contradiction is something that breaks the rules of logic. So if we make a rule that says you can't say that something is true and false at the same time, but you go ahead and do that, clearly you've broken the rules of logic. But a paradox is something that sort of belies or seems to show a problem with the rules of logic without actually breaking any. And that's exactly what we see, for instance, in the liar paradox. If we have the sentence, for instance, that this sentence is false, then clearly what the sentence is telling you is that its content, the opposite of that is the case, in a sense. But of course, if the opposite of that is the case, then what it's telling you is not the case, and so it is not false, it's actually true. But of course, if the sentence is true, then what it's telling you is the case, but what it tells you is that it's false, and so that if it's true, necessarily it's false, and if it's false, necessarily it's true, and this without breaking any of the rules of logic. That is a bit of a problem for those of us who, and I'm not necessarily in this camp, but many of us are, who would like to eliminate, of course, all falsehoods and identify all truths. Probably unattainable ideal. But anyway, the point is that in the liar paradox, what we find is just one single sentence can be true and false in a sense at the same time, or when it's true it is false, and vice versa, and that's something supposedly we're not supposed to allow in logic. Excuse me. So, in a sense, we can see where our logical understanding of the universe, in a sense, is breaking down, or at least cracking, and if we peek through the cracks, then maybe we can see God lurking in the paradoxes, as I said.